Self-development with tactics.
So we're going to go ahead with Thus Spoke Zarathustra. Summary and analysis of part 2, speeches 12 to 22. Again by Friedrich Nietzsche, as you probably know and have seen in the title of the video and or the podcast. And yeah, so if you want to check out the audio only version, meaning the podcast, please check out the links in the description and you're probably going to find it. Maybe you have to search for it, maybe you have to quote unquote Google for it. But yeah, we're gonna see. The first speech is on self-overcoming. This speech is one of the most decisive speeches of the book on self-overcoming. Is the definition of Sarah's ideas in the second part of the novel. So once again, I'm not gonna say Zarathustra all the fucking time. I'm gonna say Sarah. Or Zara, or however I'm going to pronounce it. The speech is a conversation between Sarah and the wisest ones, quote unquote, the great thinkers and philosophers from throughout the ages. In the speech, Sarah shows how these philosophers' ultimate goals include a will to power. Though the philosophers claim to seek truth, they actually create the truth for those under them. The wisest ones have been creating a moral world that they can make to kneel before them. They create this world for those under them with their conceptions of what is right and wrong and what is good and evil. Sarah shows us how the philosophers have actually become the moral kings of the ages. All notions of right and wrong are based upon their work. He reasons, and this makes them very powerful. Sarah congratulates these men instead of challenging them. He acknowledges their greatness and their power, but at the same time he prepares a way to overcome their rule. Sarah offers his views on humanity. The weak serve the strong, and the weak are served by those who are even weaker than they are. Sarah says that will to power is the pursuit of life. For the sake of power, life risks life itself. Life's ultimate goal is not simply to stay alive. Life's ultimate goal is a will to power, a desire to be a master over other life. This, Sarah says, is the fundamental state of life. It's the reason that Sarah will be able to will himself to rise over the great philosophers of the ages. Sarah closes his speech by asking those around him to tell others about this will to power. A weakness of the old philosophers is that they kept their will to power to themselves. If others know of this true meaning of life, however, much will change in humanity and society. The old foundations of the world, Christianity and the modern morality of the age, will crumble under the realization of will to power. On the sublime ones, having discovered the will to power and having briefly shown the kind of world to which such a discovery will lead, Sarah turns his attention to the modern institutions of knowledge and their deconstruction in the face of this will to power. He turns first to the sublime, modern seekers of knowledge. He uses this imagery of storms and serenity to show how these modern wise men have been able to free themselves from the old superstitions of Christianity, but have not been able to gain the serenity that Zarathustra has been able to gain. The sublime seeker of knowledge has not yet learned learning and beauty. Sarah says that the sublime one's difficulty is not being able to find beauty without willing it through violence. To stand with muscles relaxed and with an earnest will, this is most difficult, Sarah says. Sarah's problem with these modern thinkers and philosophers is that they have not learned the secret of finding beauty as the early Greek philosophers did. Though these modern thinkers have become sublime because they have attained knowledge, they have not been able to overcome the sublimity to gain an even greater state. They have not mastered the ability to control and restrain their will. On the land of education. The next 3 speeches, Sarah gives outline the best parts of the modern world while highlighting the weaknesses of modern philosophers. After flying through the future and the past, Zara returns to the present to speak to those concerned with modern liberal education. These men believe they are masters of the present because they have mastered the past. Zara shows them how even though they master themselves in the knowledge of the culture of the past, they do not possess the true knowledge that Zara himself possesses. They claim that they have no beliefs or superstitions. Zara shows them they lack belief only because they are sterile. They do not have the knowledge that Zarathustra has. To show that they are sterile, Zara tells the myth of the dead in Greek mythology and the story of Adam from Genesis. These people's beliefs have been taken from them like the rib from Adam's side. Yet this has left them thin and frail like the dead. Zara wants nothing to do with them because their knowledge does not lead to the ultimate goal of the Overman. On the Immaculate Perception. In this speech, Zara confronts the practitioners of modern science and philosophy whose ultimate goal is to achieve a pure perspective, a completely objective state of mind. Zara uses a parable of the moon to make his point. The moon, long a symbol of the feminine, is more like a barren, impotent man. The moon is the symbol of the modern philosopher who believes he can achieve pure objectivity. Such a man cannot produce offspring, and Zara suggests that instead the moon will be overcome by the brightness of the sun, the symbol for the new age of the Overman. Zara ridicules those who strive for a pure objective, for being content in viewing with that will, without the grasp of greed or of selfishness. This contentment viewing will not lead to the Overman, Zara says, because whomever cannot believe himself always lies. Pure objectivity is an illusion, because no matter what each person will bring a particular perspective to he sees. The goal is to believe in the individual. Zara says that he himself has once like this before he saw a truer light. The knowledge of the will to power and the fulfillment of the Overman. This light is like a sun that will eclipse the moon that is the myth of objective knowledge. On Scholars. On Scholars begins with Zara relating an incident in which he is asleep and on a tree when a sheep comes and nibbles on the ivy wreath on Zara's head. The sheep realizes that Zara is no longer a scholar and it walks away. This parable is a symbol for the scholarly community that Zara sees as a group of sheep who blindly and dumbly follow others. Zara is proud that he is no longer a scholar in the old way. Instead, he says he is still a scholar to the children and also to the thistles and the red poppies. Zara begins to list the problems with the modern scholars. Zara used to be part of their group, but now he has found a simpler way to be. He no longer needs to approach complex, useless ideas with poison as the scholars do. Their work, Zara says, is useless because it only makes a modest noise. These scholars now hold a grudge against Zara and try to silence him, but he will not be silenced. He will stroll with his thoughts over their heads. These scholars cannot stop Zara in his quest. The speech does not address the scholars directly, it only describes them. Zara claims that modern scholarship serves other powers such as democracy. Therefore, scholarship discounts men like Zara as freaks too lowly for proper consideration. Zara ridicules these scholars for not heeding his call regarding the Overman and not understanding his notion of justice. Zara says that human beings are not equal. Scholars are not permitted to want the Overman as Zara does because he have been subjugated by the ideas of modern democracy. Well, gonna end the episode there. I wish you the best. Please stay safe and good, and I'll see you soon.